these ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan.
It's been a good season.
They cannot have fucked this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they tried. If you got people in a room, if you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done. This girl is incredible. What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA.
She turned the Fever. We're 1-8. They have a winning record now.
But the number of attention, eyeballs she's brought to college and the pros, and for these women to have this petty jealousness, you say to yourself, damn, what is going on here? And
well, you got accused of that stuff too with the older players being resentful of the new generation. It's kind of part of the basketball process. Everybody thinks their generation's the best.
No. Anytime we say something about guys, it ain't the old get off my lawn guy.
Yeah.
But the stuff toward her is petty and jealous. And the thing I love about her, she never says a word. And now when I watch her, two things I like. She's playing much faster.
Yeah.
Much faster. She was playing too slow the first half of the season.
I think she was tired. I think she was banged up from the college season.
They didn't even give her the understanding, like, you girls been ready for the WNBA season. Y'all been working out on the no stress. She came straight out of college and had to go right to the WNBA like 2 weeks later. So they didn't even factor that in. But I think she's learned. When I watched her play the last month, I think she's learning to play much faster because I think she's learning to trust those girls more. Because, when she's in college, she's not passing to a bunch of great players. Now you can see when she plays, she's playing a lot without the ball. She reminds me a lot of Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd's the best I've ever seen with playing without the basketball.
Yeah.
I played with Jason Kidd one time in an All-Star game. He says, Chuck, you should be getting like 6 to 8 points a game more, right? I said, what are you talking about? He says, I'm going to kick it ahead to you.
Yeah.
He says, your point guards wait and give you the ball too late. If I give you the ball full speed ahead instead of waiting for you to finish, you get another 8 to 10 points a game. She's starting to see now, if I play faster and give it to them sooner, so that tells us she's really smart. But these ladies, who I love and respect their game, they couldn't have fucked this thing up any worse. Because we have talked, and talking about Asia. Asia Will's the best woman player in the world right now. She's incredible. Connecticut Sun's having a great year. The Minnesota Lynx is having a great year. But there's been so much negativity, and a lot of it is just petty jealousness. And I love the way and I'll tell you what really good happened to her, not making the Olympic team.
Totally agree. Well, it also gave her a break.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
Giving her that time off has given her a chance to recharge her batteries. So it ended up, she probably did deserve to make the Olympic team on merit, but her getting that time off probably was the best thing happened to her.
Well, the other thing that happened, her teammates, you could see like a little osmosis. You watch that team now and they're pretty unselfish to watch. Like they're making extra passes, and it's the kind of stuff that happens when you're playing with a great player.
Well, but some of that is her
which
fault,
I've enjoyed.
though. But some of that's her fault, Bill, because like I say, I think she had one other girl on her team who made it to the WNBA. But she's learning now, I can play without the ball. That goes back to, remember when Tex Winter, it says, Michael.
Oh, the triangle.
You're going to trust these other guys. Because first of all, it's going to make it easier on you playing without the ball. It's much easier. Like for me, I can use myself as an example. Not that it's about me. When I got traded to Phoenix and they gave me Dan Marley, Kevin Johnson, Sid Sabalo, and those guys, man, it goes back to the stuff I told you about the Olympics. Man, it was just so easy for me to play basketball because I didn't have to make every pass. I didn't have to score every basket.
Yeah.
And I think Caitlin is learning that now, like, oh, I can trust her. I can trust her. I can trust her. I can trust her. I tell people, that's why I said earlier about the Olympics. Man, when the game is so easy when you play with better players. The game is only hard when you play with guys who suck. Like, because everybody is looking at you. They're like, Chuck got the ball. Every defender is looking at you. But when you're playing with Marley, KJ, Ceballos, when I won MVP, that was the easiest basketball I ever had to play.
The other thing they have to figure out is, anecdotally, I can't believe how many people in my life have been watching the WNBA and have hardcore opinions on it. I'm getting an Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark Rookie of the Year arguments and first team All-NBA. They got to figure out the schedule for the playoffs, because I just think going against football is just a no-win situation. I would love to see them try to figure out the little nooks so that they can actually get attention.
The number one thing they got to do is find a way to let people know what the damn games are.
Right. Well, that's another issue. It's on 4 places.
It don't even matter about it don't even matter about the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you have to go to, I was watching some game that it's called Ion.
Ion, yeah. It's been huge for Ion. Yeah, no, it's been good for them.
I don't even know. That's like, damn. I mean, like, no. You can't ask basketball fans to try to find Ion. I mean,
they were about to make you a big offer. Now they're going to pull it.
Have other people in WNBA history to have more than one triple-double in the same season. And my favorite was at the end of the game when they asked her, because she got that triple-double literally on the last second. She gets the rebound with like seconds left on the clock. And they asked her afterwards, because the crowd goes nuts. Kelsey Mitchell's reaction was hilarious. She's like, why are y'all losing your right now? She had no idea that she was flirting. Right. So Kelsey Mitchell didn't know that Caitlin was flirting with a triple-double, but they asked Caitlin afterwards, like, did you know that you were 1 rebound away from a triple-double? She was like, of course I did.
For sure.
Duh.
I do this.
What?
I do this.
Don't you see us looking up at that box score?
That's
Hell yeah, I'm going to get this rebound, right?
She fills it up.
She fills it up. And the Fever already locked up a playoff spot on their night off.
Yes.
But man, this is the first time that they're going to be in the postseason since 2016, a 7-season playoff drought. And this is exactly what Caitlin said the goal would be this year. You know, people right away were like, are you guys going to win a championship? She's like, pump the brakes. The goal is to get this team, A, above a 500 record, and B, back in the postseason. And that's exactly what they've done. First
postseason since 2016. That was 3 presidential administrations ago. First time with an above 500 record since 2019, when they were 4-3 out of the gates to start the season. Elle, I think it's appropriate to start talking about. Now, while, okay, we could be a little bit ambitious talking about championship aspirations, but I don't think it's too ambitious to say that nobody wants to see the Fever. And we can double down on that right now. As it sits, let's just say for the purposes of this experiment, they're in the 6th seed. So that means they are lined up with the Minnesota Lynx, who Rebecca Lobo said would be the dark horse to win a WNBA title.
Sure.
In her estimation, the way that they are playing right now, they have another MVP candidate in Nafisa Collier, who's sort of leading the charge with that team. But now we start to have some fun conversations with less than 10 games, 8 games to go left in the regular season, with the WNBA playoffs starting in 17 days. Talking about the cat and mouse game between the Fever, the rest of their schedule, and where they want to potentially fall in this seeding bracket, right? Like, are they going to take some games off at the end of the year because they play the Dallas Wings, who they just beat earlier in the week? They smoked them. And then they play the worst team literally in the league next to the Los Angeles Parks in the Washington Mystics. Like, is this where they downshift potentially? Or you say no to that because of the way that they're playing right now? And they have 2 more games against the Las Vegas Aces, to which we've already sort of talked about, well, the Aces aren't who we thought they were until they get to the playoffs. Like, there's so many other storylines heading into the playoffs now that are pretty interesting with what we are going to see or not see from them. Well, let's just set the table for what those standings look like right now for the folks that are listening that don't know. You mentioned it, that the Fever are locked in at the 6th seed right now. The lowest that they could fall would be to 7 seed, which is currently being occupied by the Mercury, who are just a game back from the Fever. But that's likely not going to happen, right? Because they've swept them, and the Mercury got to win out, and basically the Fever would have to. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a bunch of games. Well, and then the right above the Fever in the standings right now are the Storm, who have 2 games on the Fever.
The Storm, I think, just looking at their schedule, have a little bit of an easier schedule than the Fever do. The Fever as a whole, after the Olympic break, had, at least according to our metrics, the easiest schedule. But the next 3 games are a gauntlet for the Fever.
For sure.
The next 3 games, the Fever have to face the Lynx tomorrow night on Friday night. That is a huge game for all the aforementioned reasons. They still have to face the Dream, who are a team that right now are battling with the Chicago Sky for that final.
And you know what's so funny about that is like they have to play the Dream, and although we've pitted this whole the Sky and the Fever hate one another, there's not going to be any bigger Indiana Fever fans when the Fever play the Dream than the Chicago Sky. Right. Because they are neck and neck for the 8th and final playoff spot. So they need all of the help that they can possibly get.
No. Why don't you throw out what you just proposed? Should the Fever let the what, Gary?
Hey, yo, I did say Caitlin Clark. I mean, listen.
Should the Fever let the Dream win? Is that what you said?
I said, should they head into this game strategically and maybe rest some players that otherwise wouldn't be rested?
Why?
Huh?
Why? The Fever aren't scared of the Sky. The Fever have beat the Sky 3 times this year.
Can I throw in? Oh wait, actually, and then who's that third game that you mentioned? This next gauntlet.
So they've got the Lynx, then the Dream, then the Aces, then the Wings. Very winnable. One of the worst teams in the league. And then they've got the Aces twice.
Back to back. That's crazy.
Back to back, and then they'll close out the season with the Mystics. So those last 2 games, I'm with you. If you want to take a respite, a break, a little bit of take the pump the brakes a little bit, maybe try and rest some people, that's fine. I don't think you want to do that if you're the Fever. Like, here's the thing about the Aces. They are not who we thought they were at the beginning of the year, but they still have championship pedigree. They still have the ability to turn it on. They still have 4 Olympians on that team, right? Like, they are tried and true, proven champions, and they've got the league MVP on their team and a finals MVP. And like, they've got what they need.
I didn't know they traded for Caitlin Clark. That's crazy. You said MVP. No, that's crazy.
Wild. The Fever are still a young team who, as we mentioned, haven't been in this
they
spot.
Look like they grew up right before our eyes.
Yeah, like they're still a young team who is riding so much momentum right now. In any other year, if Caitlin comes right out of college and has the sort of gauntlet run that she's had to have, I would say, yeah, rest her. Get her some. They had the Olympic break. She had a month off, which is a huge part of why you're seeing so much of this team be re-energized too. She got to rest. They got to rest. They got to work together. They got to work on defense. They got to work on schemes. They got to practice together. They got to watch film together. They got to just like be together, build team chemistry. That's important too, what's happening off the court. I don't think that you want to do that in this situation. I think you want to ride the hot hand, especially for a team that is young and doesn't have a ton of sort of seasoned vets to show them the playoff way. So I think you don't pump the brakes. Maybe you consider it for that last game against the Mystics, but in particular because I believe that the Aces are the only team that the Fever have not beat yet. And whether we think that the Aces are as dominant as they were in the past or not, they are still the defending 2-time champs. That is a great measuring stick game. That is a great confidence booster. That is a galvanizer. You beat the Aces. Hell, let's just pipe dream it. You beat the Aces twice, back to back. Like, that is the kind of momentum, the kind of moxie that you want to carry into the postseason.
And then you could have a better case and more credentials to sort of fall back on, like, hey, we ran through the gauntlet. We beat who we were supposed to beat, or at least who we knew we were going to see in the playoffs, to see where we measure up against, whether it be the Lynx this week or the Aces back-to-back. The juicy thing that I'm picturing based off of the rest of this schedule, though, is the Fever 6, Seattle 5. So if the Fever continue their winning ways, which they're the hottest team out of the break, 5, 6 straight, 8 of their last 10, if they somehow find their way into the 5th spot, then the WNBA playoffs start, and then it would immediately turn around and be an Aces Fever best of 3 out of the gate. With the 4-5.
Which would be sick.
Hey, is that on our air?
That is a ratings.
That's on our air, right?
You know, we got yes. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, Fever, get to that 5 seed. Let's go. Daddy needs a new shirt. Or a handful of them.
Listen, our colleague Janae Gumake's sister Nneka plays for the Storm, and I'm not going to actively root for the Storm to spit the bit and fall apart.
That's my bad.
But I'm just saying, if it was to happen, it would be an unintended, really great consequence for us, just because that would be an absolute ratings bonanza. Honestly, like, the Fever could be playing the Harlem Globetrotters or the Generals, and they're going to do really well. It doesn't really matter
right now. Nobody wants them,
and you can understand why. I think too, like, even the idea of like outlooking the postseason has even changed internally. And
you're talking about like
well, even what they believe they can
I was
accomplish.
like, at ESPN,
because
go on.
for Caitlin, as I mentioned, for her, it was just about getting this team back to the postseason. And for a little bit, it was like, okay, maybe they can sneak in. Oh, they're playing a lot better. Maybe they can sneak in. As we've been saying, they're not sneaking in anymore.
Correct.
They have announced themselves. They are coming in hot. But even her comments about making the postseason yesterday tell me that they're dangerous, because she has shifted from, we just want to make the postseason, to, we're not celebrating making the postseason.
Mhm.
We actually believe that we can win a series, maybe more. And that is very different than we're just happy to be here, which was the goal before. Just get to the playoffs in that drought, save your coach. Shout out, by the way, to Christy Sides, who got coach of the month.
Mhm.
And this is a woman who, like, people wanted her job after a week.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Lisa Bluter, now that she left Iowa, would come over and coach the Fever.
True. She's just down the way.
People were floating that like right away. And Christy kept, sort of asking for patience as well.
Yeah.
And now to see her get this accolade, like, good for her. I hope it's a huge relief to her. I hope that, like, we can finally put that to bed. She is not on a hot seat. Like, she knew what we all knew, which is that this team would just need some time. But it's dangerous that now they've shifted from, we just want to make the postseason, to, we don't want to just make the postseason. We want to win a series. We think we can make some noise. And I tend to agree.
Listen, optimism and confidence go hand in hand, and it is a hell of a drug. You win that best of 3 out of the gates. Imagine if they paired up against the Aces and knocked out the defending champs to get into the semifinals then at that point.
Sure, right away.
And then it's just 4 teams.
Right.
So you got a 25% chance of winning it.
Yeah.
Give me that.
I like that
Give me
the
those odds.
WNBA gets right to it. The NBA is like, we're going to have a 3-month playoff. The W is like,
7-game
nah,
series.
man. You win one series,
up.
you are real, real close to being in the
NBA's
title.
like, we had 8 teams in the playoffs. What if we told you we're going to expand it to 10? And then we're going to have a playoff game to get into the playoff games. Yeah.
And then we're going to have an in-season tournament too.
Yes, correct. And when LeBron retires, we're going to do away with all of that, because the Lakers, at that point, will have no chance of being a top 10 team in the Western Conference. When he retires, we'll go back to just 8. We'll call it good. Nice and tidy. So anyway, I think that we've exhausted in terms of what Caitlin Clark has done, what she continues to do. It's a scary team that nobody wants to see. Fortunately, we have the ability to see her for the next a little over half a dozen times in the regular season. And she's going to continue breaking records, the 100 triples, the triple doubles. She's going to get another one before the regular season ends. Kelsey Mitchell continuing to lead the team in scoring. And shouts to Aaliyah Boston, last year's number 1 overall pick. I mean, having somebody be able to facilitate your scoring and be able to basically be the person that you needed all along to really blossom into the position player that you are built into being. That's all you needed.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. The scary thing is I don't even think they've tapped into like half of what they can be.
That's true too.
Like that is going to be a really, really fun duo to continue to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that I really have always liked about Caitlin in the years I've been covering her in college basketball, and I saw Wright Thompson talk about this on a podcast last week, is her self-awareness. And the thing that's always been really cool about Caitlin is, despite the fact that she is the show, and we all know that, she's always been incredibly deferential. And she was the same way in Iowa. Whenever all of the crowds, the scrums, the media scrums, when we would have media availability privately before the Final Four with the teams, she would always make it about her teammates. And the truth is, she knew what we all know, is that she can.
NBA 2K25 player ratings reveal surprising rankings for Warriors roster. The Golden State Warriors hierarchy has been a hot topic this offseason, with veterans Stephen Curry and Draymond Green leading a balanced roster that leaves many questions unanswered. Who will emerge as the Warriors' second scoring option? Who's the third best player on the team? What does the starting lineup and rotation look like? These are all looming questions as we approach training camp and preseason next month. Off-season edition Buddy Hield ranked 4th best player on Warriors roster in NBA 2K25 ratings. In the initial NBA 2K25 player ratings released Wednesday, Jonathan Kuminga was ranked as the Warriors' 3rd best player, following Curry and Green. However, the biggest surprise came with Buddy Hield being ranked 4th, tied with Brandon Podziemski with an overall rating of 79. While 2K seems to believe Hield could be a key player in Golden State's lineup, the reality is far less certain. He may not even crack the top 7 in Steve Kerr's rotation when the season opens against the Portland Trail Blazers on October 23. At 31, Hield could still compete for a starting role depending on his preseason performance, but the defensive liabilities of a backcourt pairing with Curry make Podziemski or DeAnthony Melton more likely candidates for heavy minutes. If Hield does end up being the Warriors' fourth-best player next season, it likely signals trouble for the team. In fact, it would mean the Warriors are facing significant struggles in their quest to return to playoff contention. Hield, after all, logged fewer than 30 total minutes, including 2 DNPs, across the first 5 games of the Philadelphia 76ers' first-round series against the New York Knicks last season. While he did have a breakout 20-point performance in Game 6, where he hit 6 of 9 three-point attempts, that performance was an anomaly, not the norm. If Hield is among the team's top players, it could indicate that Podziemski hasn't made the leap many hoped for, or worse, that Andrew Wiggins hasn't had the bounce-back season the Warriors desperately need. If Wiggins underperforms, it could lead to a trade by the February deadline. Is Hield truly one of the Warriors' top 5 players? Most would argue no, but NBA 2K seems to think otherwise. This surprising ranking raises more questions about the roster and its ability to compete in a loaded Western Conference next season.